Hello, everyone. I'm Happiness Essien. Welcome to another episode of the mentorship series brought to you by Yakha, where we talk about all things mentorship and bring on real life mentors and mentees to talk about their mentorship journey. On today's episode, we're going to be having a special guest. Special because she's not just a mentee, she's also a mentor. So if you want to meet our special guest, make sure you stay tuned. Welcome back, guys. Like I told you, we have a very special guest on set today. All right. Can you do us the honors of introducing yourself?
Hi, thank you for having me on Yakha. My name is Ifeyinwa Onwuakagba. I'm an energy specialist. I've worked in the power and energy sector in Nigeria for about 10 years. I also have the privilege of pastoring at Celebration Church, where I am raising godly kids and teenagers. I love to speak. I love to hang out with family a lot, and I do a bit of writing every now and then. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys know, in case you guys don't know, she's one of my faves, right? And I love her so much. I think one thing that really attracted me to you was your voice. I just like the way you spoke. Like the first time I met you, you just opened your mouth to speak. I was like, okay, let's get to the crux of the matter. So, can you tell us who your mentor is and how you found your mentor?
Very interesting question, right? So I don't have a mentor. I have a number of mentors because
Interesting.
mentoring could cut across different facets of life. A spiritual mentor, I have a spiritual mentor, I have career mentors, and mentors across other ramifications. So the assumption that you need to have just one mentor
Mm,
is wrong, right? It depends on what it is you're trying to achieve and get clarity on.
yeah.
So as a person, I don't have just one mentor, I have a number of mentors. I have a spiritual mentor, and that's Apostle Emmanuel Aaron. And I can put that out there because that's a name people can relate
Yes,
with.
yes.
But the rest of my mentors, I'm quite certain people don't know
Know
them, but
them.
I'm happy to, talk about the details that I have gained from, relating with them and being their mentee, of course.
So basically, you should have a mentor in any area that you want to grow in.
I believe that is apt. I believe that is structured rather than have the assumption that one person can meet all your mentoring requirements. If you're able to have that, all fine and well. But if not, if your needs are a bit more nuanced, it's okay to have more than one mentor.
Can you tell us how you met or asked one of your mentors to be your mentor?
So, one thing with mentoring, and I have learned this as a mentee and as a mentor over the years, is most times you might assume that walking up to people and just saying, "Hey, I'd like you to be my mentor," just gets the job done. Oh, only if you knew the hundreds and thousands of things that these people will look up to and really hope to have a snippet of their time. If we had a sense of all that they had to deal with, we'll probably want to word our questions differently, right?
Mm,
So did I walk up to any of my mentors to ask them to be my mentor? I would be lying if I said yes.
mm.
But here's what happened: we built a relationship. And from that relationship, the mentoring began without having to put out a request. Is it okay to put out that request? Yes. If you have the privilege of access, you can put out a direct request and say, "Hey, I'd like you to be my mentor." But more often than not, I think the right way to go about desiring a mentoring relationship is to be within their space and be able to offer service.
Mm.
By the time you are able to offer service, it becomes symbiotic. If there is something you're offering to a mentor figure, over time, there will be an exchange of value. You're doing this for me. What do you say you do again?
Mm.
Do you know you could do this a bit differently? And I'll give you a personal experience. So, I was working in an organization at the time. I was a business development executive. I had noticed one of the senior managers had skills that, everybody always talked about him. It seemed out of this world, and my eyes will ogle in wonder, like, I
Mm.
wish I could do
Do
these
this.
things he was doing. And so my team lead at the time had left the business. So I walked up to my MD CEO and said, "Hey, my team lead has left. Now I'm having to directly report to you, even though, of course, you are years ahead of me. But there's this senior manager who I don't mind being in close proximity with. I can support some of the things that are happening within his department.
Mm.
And by doing that, I might be able to gain a thing or two around the skills that he has.
Yes.
And my MD CEO at the time looked at it and said, okay, that's not a bad idea, but isn't your plate full? I said, I know. Not so full that I cannot accommodate
Yes.
working with him. Allow me jump on one or two special projects with him, put me to support him, and I will be very glad for that opportunity. He said, okay, go talk to him. That's the senior manager. Ask him if he's open to that arrangement, if he's willing to accommodate you, if he doesn't mind, if he doesn't think you will be a nuisance,
Mm.
and then I'll give my go ahead, I'll give my blessings. So I went and I spoke to the senior manager. The man laughed. He said, but I like the way you do presentation. I really like your
Hey.
presentation. And I like your PowerPoint skills. Okay, don't worry. I have a few things I want you to do for me. And that was it. So you see, by offering service, you create an opportunity for a relationship.
Yes.
But if you walk up to people and say, be my mentor,
So.
and I wouldn't lie to you, I get a lot of that. And it's
Mm.
not because they do not have a genuine interest, but people's schedules are filling up per minute. They are busy. But if you show them, hey, I could do this for you, naturally there is room for an exchange. And secondly, if there's already an existing
Mm.
relationship, it becomes even easier to achieve the relationship
Relationship.
that you desire. Yeah, which is a mentor.
So basically, service aids everything
I
that
think
you
service is very powerful.
do.
I
Yeah.
think service is very, very powerful. It can bring to you what
What?
you desire and what you
Mm.
have sought by asking and asking.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, there's something you're doing. I could do it for you. Why not I do it for you? And at
Mm.
that point, you're not even requesting for much just yet. The mentor or the mentor figure could seek, to help you achieve those things that you want to.
Mm.
Or you could, by virtue of now offering that service, put out the question directly and it will not be awkward.
So this next question that I want to ask you, you've already kind of answered it,
Okay.
but how have people come to meet you to ask to be you to be their mentor?
Okay, so I've had people walk up to me and say, please, I'd like you to be my mentor in this and that regard. And I tell you the truth, some of them haven't morphed into more. And
Mm.
part of the reason is it becomes awkward when we have to always schedule a call to discuss you, you,
Mm.
you, you. And it's not because I don't want to, but there's so many other things that I need to do. Talk about the fact that there's just a lot of pressure on one's 24 hours every day. But back to the question you asked me initially, what I have realized is I am mentoring a lot of other people by virtue of the fact that they just work with me directly on a day to day. They work with me maybe in church, on a special project, within my team. And so it's not difficult for us to start a mentor mentee relationship. But not to move too far away from your question, how have people actually spoken to me about mentorship? You simply walk up to the person and you say, this and this is what I need your assistance with, this is what I need your help with. But my concern with that method is that it's not very sustainable.
Mm.
It's more sustainable if there is something that creates a
Mm.
nexus between yourself
Yourself
and
and the
that
person.
mentor. And that's why I spoke extensively about
Service.
service. If you're already within their network, if they're already within your office, your company, your organization, if they're already within, a team, a group of friends, just a location that naturally puts them and
You.
yourself within at least having a sort of conversation
Mm.
or a meetup almost every day, every other day, it becomes easier
Easy to
and
have a
more natural
relationship
to
with
build that
them.
relationship. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so can you tell us something that people do not really talk about enough when it comes to the subject of mentorship?
Okay. Hmm. So I'll talk about two things. First is the assumption that your mentor has to be a popular figure.
Mm.
Anyone could assume that, oh, if she has a ring light and has the right amount of audience on social media, is an influencer, that person should likely be a mentor figure. And I think that is so, so wrong. I don't know where that idea came from, but because us humans relate with what we see,
See.
you can see numbers in terms of followers and assume numbers for growth,
Mm.
assume numbers for knowledge.
Mm.
Numbers don't necessarily mean numbers or having an audience, people that you speak to don't necessarily give you what it takes or qualify you as a mentor. So I think one notion we need to correct about mentorship is that it has to be a popular figure because a lot of people have lost the opportunity to learn from people who are immediately able to offer them value because they overlook them. Ah,
Yes.
she's in my office. I see her every day. She's a madam in
Not
the
all
office,
that.
but no, I would rather Mrs. So and so because she's a popular figure.
Mm,
Everybody knows her. In short, the funnier part is when people call those that they don't know, don't have a direct relationship with them, their mentors. Now, maybe it's important here to explain that you could have direct and indirect mentorship, right? You could have indirect mentorship when you're being mentored, maybe through their books, whatever it is that they put out in public media, you follow their podcasts and whatnot. Unfortunately, there isn't that feedback mechanism. So, how are they able to follow through with you and see if you are growing
growing.
or gaining the progression that you desire is lacking? But then, is it possible? Yes, indirect mentorship is possible.
Mm,
And then there's direct mentorship where you have that feedback, where you're able to say, okay, I gave you some assignments, or I want to appraise you on some exercises you did 2 weeks ago. This is how I felt you did. This is what I think you can do better. So, yes, you can have indirect mentorship, but I think it's important to correct the notion that your mentor has to be somebody that is popular.
popular.
And that is why when you asked me, I'm like, the only one you know is probably my spiritual
Yeah.
mentor because yes, by virtue of his ministry, his office, he has a public face,
Mm,
but the rest you don't know
know
them.
them.
You don't know them. And I think the second thing I need to correct about mentorship is that it's valuable and there's a fine line here. So let me choose my words carefully. Your mentor doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who is older than you. Your mentor just has to be somebody who is an expert
In your field.
in what you desire mentoring in. And this is key because one of my career mentors, is what you would assume my contemporary.
Mm,
When you look at us, you will assume she's my contemporary. She's not my contemporary. I know that in terms of my growth and how far I have come in my career, a lot of it I will attribute to
to
her
her.
direct impact and availability for me. I could recall when I had to switch jobs, how we sat down reviewing my CV, the back and forth. She would say, "You're not ready, come back next week. Go and work on this, work on this, work on this, let's talk again. Go and work on this, work on this, work on this, let's talk again." And we've maintained that sort of relationship. We started our career at the same time. I think it's
Mm,
important to put this out there.
okay.
But by virtue of her growth and what she's opened herself to, there's a whole lot that I can learn from her, and I have learned from her. So, are we contemporaries? Yes. Contemporaries in terms of being in the same age group. Is she my mentor? A huge yes. I have gained and still gain from having access to her, from her network capital, which is one thing that you gain when you have a mentor, a direct mentor, one who's very available for you. Some jobs that I've had the opportunity to apply for because she said, "Oh, somebody sent it to me.
Mm,
I am not interested in it. Why not you check it out?" Do you understand what I mean? So, two things I'm correcting. First, your mentor doesn't have to be a
really
known face. Second, your mentor doesn't have to be somebody who is older
older than
than
you.
you. So don't look too far. Your what you desire just could be in your immediate
Mm.
environment. Yeah, that's it.
So could I have another question? This one is not even part of the questions but from this conversation that we just had,
Okay.
can your mentor be someone that's even younger than you?
Oh, definitely. Your mentor could be someone that's older, younger, same age. Like I
Mm,
said, it's not about the age.
age. It's about the
It's about the
experience.
expertise you desire,
Mm.
the experience that they have, what you've sensed you have a gap in, and they are able to help you close up.
Okay, so this next question is something that I feel like is very dicey, right? But what do you do to better manage your relationship with your mentor, especially when there is a strain in the relationship?
It's strain. I think the first question will be what is giving rise to that strain? Why has the strain happened? Is it something that you could have avoided? Did you contribute to that strain? Or is it just a lack of availability or follow through?
Mm,
So I would assume the strain is as a result of the mentees, unavailability. There's something I like to say. I like to say the onus of building a mentoring relationship is on the mentee. And I think this is very key because early in my career, I assumed if I walked up to people, who forget it. I assumed that if I walked up to people and I said, "Hey, I'd like to be your mentee," that that immediately meant I had a mentor. And I
Hmm.
think I did that with 2 or 3 people. I'm even going to share a sub story later. But you need to recognize that you're saying in a different way, hey, I'd like to have a piece of
Hmm.
your time, your experience, your value, basically. And by so doing, I you're having to share with me what, for lack of a better term, you would have had to give in exchange for commensurate value, maybe money. So if someone opens up to you and decides to be available in some capacity, maybe a 30-minute check-in call weekly, or thereabout, you need to show your gratitude by just maximizing
Hmm.
that time
Opportunity.
when it's that time or opportunity when it presents itself.
Hmm.
Imagine you schedule a call, a check-in call with a mentor, you don't show up, you also don't share an explanation
Hmm.
beforehand. You just assume, oh, we can always reschedule.
Reschedule.
What are you doing for me again? Why am I doing this? It's coming to me at some cost.
Hmm.
My time is a resource. It's coming to me at that cost. There's an opportunity cost. I could have been doing something else with that time and I made it available for you. And here you are abusing it. So, assuming that the mismanagement came
Yeah.
from the
Hmm.
mentee, I think a way to address it would be to profusely apologize and recognize what you have done wrong. Um, Also, do not make the assumption that it will be available again. It is at that mentor's discretion to be able to make that time available. But my particular value or preference for direct mentoring, especially people that are already in your immediate environments, because of situations like
Like this.
this, they might be able to extend grace to you and
Hmm.
recognize that, okay, maybe because I understand whatever your
Going through.
context or your peculiarities
Hmm.
are, I can accord you that grace. And okay, no problem, fine. I understand you were caught in traffic. You could not make it early enough to a brunch date we fixed, or I invited you for a symposium, you missed it, or I gave you some assignments to do and you didn't do it. But I also understand that you're a nursing mother. I will make that allowance for you, but do not abuse it.
Hmm.
Recognize that this is something that they could have been offering at a fee to someone else. And by at a fee, I don't necessarily mean the mentoring relationship, but that time they're making available for you is time they could have spent doing something else that could have given them some other value,
Hmm.
right? So
Yes.
don't abuse it. But there's a way to always walk back from it, especially if it is somebody that you already have a relationship with.
Okay, so next question is, what do you do when you're not getting as much as you hope to from a particular mentor?
Okay, and I think this is where I would share my sob story. So I was 29.
Yeah.
Um, I had switched jobs, I think, twice at the time. And there was a face I once knew and had the opportunity to listen to. And somehow he stuck with me. And I thought he would make a great career mentor at the time.
Okay.
So I had chased him on LinkedIn, chased him around. We fixed a we fixed lunch and we were speaking. And so he asked me, so what have you been up to? I told him, oh, I'd left the banking sector. I moved into the power industry.
Hmm.
I'm still in power, but I've moved to my second role. And hey, these are the things I'm doing. He said, oh, okay. Have I considered doing an MBA? I said, yes, not in the immediate though. I'm hoping to do that once I get married, blah, blah, blah. And then he made a comment. He said, ha, you seem to be quite late. I feel like you should have made a lot of progress by now on this and this front. I don't know, but it's going to take a lot for you to catch up. And I could understand where he was coming from, but for somebody who's already a very self-critical person like
Hmm.
me, that burnt an image into my head, and it just made me feel like you are late, you are late, you are late,
Hmm.
you missed the bus. You're not going to be able to catch up. You're not going to be able to do better on this and that in quotes life. And I don't know, especially the fact that he wasn't even somebody I could readily access.
Hmm.
He kind of left. I was at a low point, to put it very simply, right? And I wish that I knew a lot of the things that I know now. I wish I knew them then. I might have thought very differently about that sort of relationship.
Yeah.
First off, he wasn't even somebody that I had in my immediate circle. So knowing that I wouldn't have that opportunity for feedback, I probably would not have shared as much as I did because he couldn't even give me enough detail to explain why he felt I was late.
Yes.
I get it. He thought I should have gotten a scholarship. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have started out on the MBA train real quick. He was so high minded, and he wasn't very interested in appreciating where I was at the time and what my next step could be, right? If you really are not getting as much as you want from a mentoring relationship, feel free to jump buses. Feel free to move on to someone else. Um, I think it's more difficult if you are in a relationship with someone who probably works in your office. You now feel like your loyalties belongs to them, your allegiance belongs to them. Maybe your mentor is your boss, so now you don't want to resign because you feel like you're breaking his heart or her heart. But I don't see it that way, right? If that person is truly your mentor and after your well-being, your career advancement, if we were speaking about career mentoring, I think they'll see it as good news, right? If they see an opportunity for you elsewhere, of course, weigh the pros and the cons because opportunities come like that. There might be advantages to leaving immediately on the long run, and otherwise, you should be able to open up and share what those wins are with them. If you are not quite comfortable, then maybe that person might not be that person for you. Or maybe this is you just understanding their peculiarities as people, and okay, maybe they would not be able to understand why I need to make this progression. But I think you should be able to have as many, mentoring relationships as you will. Of course, you don't want to be all over the place. Maybe two or three as it pertains to a particular facet of your life. But if you recognize that you're not getting what you want, there could be many reasons. Maybe they don't have the time at that time. And I've been in that position. I didn't have the time to be available for a particular lady. And I really, really wanted to be there for her, but I was doing so much. I was doing so much. I was about to have a baby. I really wanted to do more, but I could not, and it just didn't pan out. It just didn't work out. So feel free to, move on to someone else. Who knows? Life could bring you back again to them or not. And recognize the fact that you actually outgrow certain relationships. So there should be the maturity to be able to let down whatever that, well, not let down. Let me choose my words carefully. You should be able to progress from one relationship to another, recognizing that mentoring could be in phases. If you make it all transactional and not seek to be there for people just just because they are people, first off, if you make it all transactional, one day you're going to need that mentor, that person, and recognizing that you did not tidy that relationship properly would do you in. It would do you a disservice. So, as much as I've said serve, be available, recognize that first, at the core of that person is a human being who you should recognize first as a human being, not as a tool for you to step up for your advancement. No, no. If you do that, people will see through you. People will see through the gimmick. And maybe that relationship will serve you for a time. Recognize that people are people. So next year, it's their birthday. 5 years ago, 4 years ago, you made the culture of always getting them gifts. Because now you think you're in a better position, you don't want to do that. Now I think you're being manipulative. If you would always buy them a gift or a book, whatnot on their birthday, I think you should go on to just manage that relationship because it's a human being. It's a human being, somebody who's invested in you over time. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say, oh, now I'm better than you? I hope it never comes to that. So just have the maturity to recognize that even as life is in phases, there should be a way to midwife those relationships through the different phases of life. Yeah. And when people talk about having rich network capital, big network, it's by being very, very mature with relationships. Somebody might open a door or an access or an opportunity to you. Recognize what that person did for you, how that person played a pivotal role, and manage that relationship that way going forward. Don't assume that you have outgrown them immediately. You might be moving faster than your shadow. You might go full circle and recognize, that man I met at the local government that helped me, now I need him for something, and
Mm.
you just moved on. How are you going to
How
do
you
it?
going
So
to?
just manage them first by just being respectful and acknowledging the fact that they are human beings that we're there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not robots and they're not there to serve your
Yes.
purpose. Yeah. So be selfless. Be
So
selfless in
better
midwifery
manage your
relationships.
relationships. Just because you are moving on to something else does not necessarily mean that you should just let go of that
I don't
relationship and
think so.
just
I think that's
drop
a
it
bad
like a
move.
glass ball and let it break. God I beg.
No, 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 no.
Okay. So there was something that you mentioned when you were telling us the story about that person that said things that like put you down. So
Mm.
how were you able to overcome that?
Very interesting. So, as much as we talk about mentoring on a one-on-one basis, I think there's another type of mentorship which is group mentoring, right? You and a couple of other people might collectively have a mentor,
Mm.
and then by virtue of that association, you grow from exchanged or shared experiences, right? So I believe a lot in strong communities, and I've noticed that, well, humans, we're social beings, we're social animals, we thrive in communities. When you belong or have access to a community of other people like you who are
Yeah.
probably in the same stage, at the same stage
Stage.
in life, you're able to share experiences, gain from people's
Mm.
experiences, and also move on from not so palatable experiences. My community really helped me. I belong to this community of really amazing, fantastic superheroes. We're women. We're women
Engineer.
engineers. Yeah. So of course I didn't share this feedback directly with them, but there were things I knew I wanted to do. And just
Mm.
being in that kind of group and knowing that those sort of people were chasing their dreams as well helped me realize that mine
Eh,
was valid
yes.
and I could go ahead, even though a certain figure that I really looked up to felt I might have
Missed
missed the
the mark.
bus. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. God, I
So
beg.
basically, have a
Have a
strong
strong
support
community.
system. Yeah, have a
Have a
strong
strong
support system.
community.
Yeah.
So, wow, interesting. I've really enjoyed this conversation. So, finally, right, final words. What advice can you give to any young person seeking mentorship
Mm.
and just general advices around the subject of mentorship and career advancement?
Okay. I think I've spoken a lot, but
Yeah.
I'll try to summarize all that I have said. I think first off, you need to recognize that by mentorship, you get the chance to piggyback on other people's experiences, relationships, and hopefully not make the same mistakes that they made
Make.
because they have made them,
Mm.
right? So you need to be able to communicate with clarity what you want. You need to be able to introspect and recognize what you need. A lot of the time, when people tell you, I want a mentor, they don't know what they want. It's like they're telling you, I want you to help me figure
Me.
out the next phase of my life because I don't know what I want to do with myself. And that's a huge burden.
Yes.
What makes you think I have figured out everything as well? I'm just like Abraham trusting God for
For the
the
next
next
thing.
thing. Yeah. So, introspect. First off, what do you want? I'm not saying you should figure out all the answers, but have a sense of what you think you want to look like in the next 5 years.
Mm.
With that roadmap, you can then figure out who and
Who
who can help me. And
on
then
this
by
journey?
figuring out who and who can help me, you can then say, okay, I need to actively cultivate relationships with them,
Mm.
which means you need to up your social engagement. Sometimes we are caught up in our bubble and expecting that somebody will hand us down help
Mm.
and come for us.
No, sir.
I'm sorry, but there's no Spider-Man about to save you. So learn to get up and speak up for yourself,
Mm.
right? Learn to stand up and be heard. Learn to walk up to people. I told you I walked up to my CEO. What now? I was probably just a senior analyst at the time. And I was able to communicate to him. I think if I worked with
This
this guy, and
person.
guess what? That senior manager is one of my career mentors. We've
Mm.
kept that relationship since then till now. Every time I need to get a reference in terms of my career, he's one person I always speak with. Anytime I want to get a clear sense of what I want to do in terms of my career goals, I always call him up. Like we've kept a very strong relationship. His family is close to my
Mm.
family. So it's not, oh, I'm just calling you whenever I need
Yes.
something. No, no, no. We actually just call to chit chat.
Check.
Hey, how are you? I call him Mr. Jibs. How are you doing? What's up? What's going on? And all that. Yeah. So you need to learn to build
Relationship.
relationships. It's a skill you will need all through life, right? At the time, I must have looked like a small fry, but well, that small fry has grown.
Grown.
So don't look down on yourself and what you're capable of. As much as you are the mentee today, you will one day be mentoring people. So speak up, be able to introspect clearly, and communicate with clarity
What
what
you
you
want.
want. A number of no's down the line, you'll finally get a yes.
Hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
You're
Pastor
welcome.
Ife.
You're
This has
welcome.
been so insightful
I'm
and value
glad.
packed. I told you guys were going to enjoy this particular episode. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me, Yakha. I'm looking forward to, coming back and definitely doing this again.
So we are done with today's episode. But here are three things that I feel like you should take home from this episode. Number one, maintaining relationships with your mentors is really key. Even if you feel like you're about to move from that mentorship relationship, my dear, maintain that relationship. Number two, there is such a thing as direct and indirect mentorship. You know what? I'll give you this one as an assignment. Go and read up on that. Number three, the most effective way to ask someone to be your mentor is by offering a service. Nobody wants anyone that's going to leech off of them. Okay? And with that, I say bye, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Love you.